So you'd love to learn the runes. So you look at them and wonder, how am I going to do this? Guys, it's no easy feat, but there are ways. For all of you out there that have a love for the runes, but keep putting off the learning part because it's hard. I have to tell you, there are ways, and it can be made fun as well. So, without any further ado, let's get into the video. Runes. What do they mean to you guys? To me, they were a thing that I relished. After doing tarot, I wanted something that was ancient, that was representative of the faith that I'm in, but also something that I felt was more compact and focused on where I was at. So I picked the runes. Now, if you're looking to learn the runes, there are a few things I'd like to talk about first. One of them being that there are 3 8s. Each has 8 stones in it. And the first 6 stones of the first 8 spell out Futhark. And that is what this particular ones are that I use. That is the Futhark runes. They're the oldest ones. They go back to at least 400 AD. And they were the alphabet that was used in writing. You ask me probably, why are we talking about all that? Well, it's good to have a foundation. It's good to understand where these things come from in the first place. And it's good to have an understanding of what you can use them for, what you can't, and how you can be advised by them. They can be used as a divination thing, but also oracle. There is a difference between the two. An oracle is slightly different to a reading. You can use them in magical purposes, spells, invocations, rune binding. There are so many ways that you can use them. Now, before you even start, what do you need? Obviously, you do need a pack of runes. And there are beautiful runes out there that you can buy. There's also another way, and that is to make your own. And you, as long as it's with a natural substance, i.e. stones, shells, wood, and crystals also. You can also get these and then paint with acrylics, because acrylic sticks onto most substances, and you can varnish them or put something over it that's going to glaze it, make it all shiny and like nice to the touch. Or you can just leave them basic. Some people, when they're learning, just use cardboard, little cardboard cutouts, till they get to know what it is they're doing. My runes came to me as a present from somebody, but not a gift from somebody I knew. It was actually my boss in my office, whose son wanted to get rid of them, and he thought of me and gave them to me. And they're the ones that I use most of the time, because there's an energy to it, which I really like. And this is something I want you to think about, because if you're going to take it serious in learning, A, you need to feel comfortable with the runes that you're getting or have got. You need a book to write everything in. The reason for that, or the reasoning behind that, is that each page will be set aside, or the first 2 pages. So when you open your book, the page in front of you, and when you turn it over, that page will be for 1 rune at a time. So you put the rune heading, and then whatever you have to write on it, you can write below. And anything that you do in the future about readings, you can write it in there. And of course, once you fill up those spaces, you can then carry on to the next part of the book and do it again. So it goes in phases, and this is good to look back at a later date. A couple of years down the line, when you've been doing it for a while, you look back and you see how you have learnt more and added more to it. Now each rune represents different things, not just the rune itself, but the combination of the 8. So you have 8 runes in the first, the same in the second, and the same in the third. There is also a blank rune. Now, not everybody uses that blank rune because, to be honest, guys, it wasn't added to them until the 1900s. Before that, it was never there. But it is up to you entirely. It is called the Weird Rune, but it's also known as Odin's Rune. And it normally gives you a forecast on something. It's more of an oracle rune. It will give you warnings and messages that are very important. So if you receive it in your reading, I like to use it myself, but not everybody does. And I use it as Odin's Rune. To me, that is putting a stamp on something, but a lot of people don't use it, and it is entirely up to you. So we have 24 runes, and I just love the way it is split into the 3. So the first 8 is Freya's 8, and it's about Midgard. It's also the root of creation and all about nurturing, and it starts off with Freya. So that's the first 8. And then we have the second 8, or the second 8, known as Hagalaz 8. And these 8 runes signify the underworld and the land of the dead, but it's also very symbolic of karmic past and present, and so brings in fire and ice. Then we get on to the third 8. It starts with Tyr, and it encompasses the gods and the goddesses, for it is from them that we learn. It is from them that we're given privilege to have these gifts at our fingertips. And so we give reference to the spiritual side. So we're mastering energies and oneness, and that brings in family and all sorts of stuff. So the 3 8s together bring through a lot of information, and something that we should keep mindful. Now, I don't want to confuse any of you by giving you too much, because this video I want it to stick on how to remember each rune. Now, I work intuitively, and so each rune will have a list of ideas of what it means. All I want you to focus on, guys, is the shape of what's on the rune and what it looks like to you, and how with the name you can find something that you can latch onto by remembering it. For example, if you had a kettle in a diagram, how would you remember it? You'd either think of steam coming out of it, or water, whatever it is that made you think of the kettle. And that helps you to get the 2 together, so every time you pick the water you see the kettle. And this is the way I learned, by thinking of something that meant a lot to me, not what was written in the books telling you exactly what it was. Now, of course, we need the right meanings, but you still get the right meanings. You just don't need that long list of things. You need a lovely book which you can put a lot of your love into, something that you're going to look back on and really like. So you want something that's going to be nice to look at, and you can put a lot of your artistic endeavours into it. Get a nice pen, get a nice set of runes. As I said to you before, as long as it's natural, then you can use anything, and the symbols are quite easy to draw on them. But if you've got yourself a new set and you you like them and you feel good with them. What is the first step? Well, the first step in any bag of runes is to consecrate them, as I would call it, or bless them, as what other people would call it. And that can be with the elements, or it can be with your gods and goddesses, or it can just be with yourself. Nobody has to do them a specific way. It's how, as a witch or a light worker, you work within. And so when you first get your runes, what I do for the first day is, first of all, I wash them in water, purified water. So if you've got a filter water jug, use the water from that. Just keep them in there and wash them. Then dry them nicely. And then put them just laid out all together. And you can do the elements over them. And you can say a few words like, I dedicate these runes to the purpose of aiding others and myself in forecasting events and warnings and things that are needed to be known. I seek the spiritual advice and the knowledge that I will need. And that, you leave it at that. So you could put incense over it. Now, when I'm doing consecrations, I like to use charcoal and incense on that. And I will use, if I'm doing it that way, I will use frankincense. And I use like the little crystals, and you put them on. And you get a lot more smoke that way, and a lot more of the incense. And it's, if you like the smoke of incense, then it's great. So what you do is you pass it round. So I've got one on chains, and it's got like the bottom bit, and you just swing it like what you have in the church. Go with the gut feeling. Sometimes I want to do the infinity sign with it. Sometimes I just want to go in a circle, or sometimes I just want to waft it with a feather. Whatever speaks to you. Once you've done it with that, you then do it with some, we've already done it in the water, but you can still consecrate it with water, just flicking the water on. If you do it in the north of your room on a table, that is earth, that is your altar. Then you have the fire. The fire could be a little bowl with some fire in it, with some sticks, or you can have candles. Whatever suits you. You've then consecrated your rooms. Now, it doesn't stop at that, guys. With some people, they need to do a bit more than that, because you've got to become friends. You've got to become focused together. I like to look at the runes as they have a spirit within them. They have an energy within them. They have more than one. They have 24 energies, and those energies need to be attached to your energy. So, I like to blood mine. Now, a lot of people are not keen on that, but I like to do that. You need a little bit of your blood. And what I do is I prick my finger and I put some in a little bowl. And you just take your finger and on each one put a similar amount and then rub it in. And while you're rubbing it in, you ask the gods to bless this endeavour and to be with you and give you the messages you need to make you joined with these runes. And so that is how I do the beginning with them. You can then sleep with them in the bag in your bed for about a week. Wear them on your body while you're going about your business daily. You will find then that they feel more part of you. And when you get them out, always like play around with them. Don't be frightened of them. Pick them up and feel them. Toss them around. Just get the feel of them before you do anything else. Now, once you've done all that, guys, you're set to start. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through each rune and we're just going to have fun, yeah? So the very first one is Fehu. Now, I often say in a lot of my videos, Fehu, But I was taught to say with a more guttural accent, and so brings that energy out. So Fehu, Fehu, Fehu. And when you say that, that is Freya, but it's also the rune of wealth. Now you could look at a list of what that will mean, and it will give you all of the meanings in books. But this is where I made it more easier. And that is because each person has their own way of thinking on things. And wealth can mean so much to you, but you want to learn it the way you see it, not the way it's written in a book, because that will confuse your brain and make you think, I have got to learn that word for word. And by learning it word for word, it means nothing to you. These words are powerful. Thought made word made deed, and I always say this, guys. So when you think something and you speak something and you say something, you're powering something, you're giving off energy. So you need to feel it inside. It's a very feely thing. In the old days, cattle meant a lot. It was the way that they used to pay for things. But nowadays, of course, we don't buy things with cattle. But we do use money. We do use finances. But you have to look at what the word wealth means to you. So you need to sit with your book, and you need to go on the first page, and you need to write down what you think wealth means to you. Because there are many, many things that you can use for the word wealth. You can have wealth of health, wealth of finances, or wealth of spirituality. And under those three headings, you can think about what's it bringing to you. An abundance in some way. So think about all the words that go with the word wealth. Those words will mean more to you because they're going to stick in your mind. So every time you see the symbol for Fehu, you're going to see wealth. You're going to see all the things. And once you've done that, think about when you see Fehu, what symbol is going to mean wealth to you. So instead of picking something from the book that they tell you to write, which won't give you a link, think about something that's going to link you to finances and wealth. So I put the sterling pound for mine when I was learning. And so when I looked at the sterling, I knew that was money, and money is wealth. And I knew that. And of course, everything that I've learnt from myself all come together. And so you've got the very first one. Fehu, cattle, wealth, finances. And my little reminder was the pound sign, sterling. And that was easy for me to do, okay? And I'm hoping that this will help you guys to do the same thing. Now we're going to go on to the second one, which is Uruz. Uruz. A lot of people say Uruz or Uruz. It's about the Uruz. It's strength. It is the strength that you will need. And again, we're going to put that head in strength and think. Now, it is the ox, huge mammoth animal, which was the auroch. But of course, that is null and void now. We don't have them anymore. What we do have in its place is the ox. And the oxen, or the ox, is a very strong creature, and it moves mountains because anyone gets in its way, it just pushes through. It doesn't stop, and it's powerful. And of course, that will signify what the rune actually means, and will give you that idea of what you can add to it. So don't look in the books. I want you to think about strength. How are people strong? They're strong in their health. If they have a health issue, it gets them through. They're strong in their finances when they haven't got it, because they have to be strong. Again, strength in circumstances, but strength in spirituality as well. There are so many ways you can use Uruz because it is your strength. Now think about, again, what reminds you of this particular rune. And we will have, let's see, I always see an arm with a big muscle, like Popeye the Sailor Man. And I think of that, and it reminds me of then an ox and then Uruz. When you're giving a reading, which comes later, when you're proficient and you know what you're talking about, you know each one inside out from what you've made them out to be, you are using your intuition, guys. This is not coming from books. It's intuitive, and so means so much more. Feeling it within, feeling the energies. But that comes after we go through them all. So then we go on to the next one. Thurisaz. 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 And the reason for the way I'm saying it is because thorn. Thorn in the side. It is the rune of several meanings. It can be danger, it can be a thorn in the side, it can be things that get in the way and cause you grief. And I like to look at it and think, because of the way it looks, that it looks like a rose bush thorn on the stem. And so I find that one very easy to remember. And I'm not going to go into a long dialogue, but as you've got the drift with the first couple, a thorn in the side, a problem to be solved, suffering in some way, you know, a disruption in your life. Okay, so the next rune is Ansuz, Ansuz, Ansuz. And again, it's that deep guttural feeling within, and it's Odin's rune, but it's the rune of messages, of communication. And the two arrows are coming down, bringing down the information from the gods or whoever. But at the end of the day, I like to look at that as like a telegraph pole. You know, you've got the wires coming out and it's giving messages. And the way that you can do this, again, sit and think what it means to you. Messages, messages that you get in your life, messages that are spiritual, messages come in many ways. So whatever speaks to you, think of that thing that's going to remind you and put it in your book. Put all these things in your book, because it's going to mean so much to you to be able to just flick through and think, where's my page for Fehu? Where's my page for Ansuz? And it'll have everything there, straight to your hand. I like to think of this particular one as a telephone. Messages come on telephones. It's easy to remember. Telephone or telegraph pole, message coming from the gods. Two things coming down. And sit and think about how it works for you and write those things in your book. Again, some people make the mistake of trying to do the whole lot in one go, and that's a near on impossibility. If you did that, your mind will be going, ooh, can't do it, guys. After Ansuz, we go on to the next rune, Raido, and it's the traveller's rune. It's transport or forward thinking or a journey or a new way of doing things. It's a journey which starts at the beginning, has a middle and has an end, and so can influence your life in many ways. And so you need to think on this one, guys. You need to think about how that signifies to you. Now, that might be difficult for some of you. So what you need to do is look at the list and see what speaks to you on that list. And just take that and put it in. Anything that's going to remind you of what it means to you. Because rune readings are personal. I don't care what anybody says. You can get knowledge from a book and you can learn the basics. But when you're going to do readings, you need to be fully immersed in it and really understanding what it is you are feeling. Because it's about feeling things. The energies come as a feeling, and if you can't feel that, then you can't absorb it. Some people don't do it that way, and that's why I'm saying the way I do it is slightly different. So I take a word that means a lot to me and I expand that particular word. There are so many words around one word. You don't have to take a list from a book, guys. But as I say, we are on Raido. And that one is about travelling. It can also mean a cycle. It can mean time. It can mean so many things. And so what's the point of having a huge long list? You want something that's going to go into you and stay there. So that every time you see that particular rune, it's going to immediately open that up. And that's half the battle. The next rune. Oh, also, yes, you need something that's going to remind you. And now for me, that's a pathway. Because when I look at the rune, it's like a person with two legs that's walking. The one leg's going out further than the other. So it's like footprints. So you could have footprints, or you could have two legs walking, or a pathway. So with me, I see it as a path. Let's go on to the next one. Kenaz. Some people say Kenaz. You know, I think it's Kenaz. So, Kenaz. Now, this particular rune, to me, looks like the beam of a torch. And it's talking about shining a light on something. But it's also not just a torch, it's the flame of fire. And so can burn. So it could be, there are many ways you can use this, shining enlightenment on a subject, on a situation, or burning out what shouldn't be there, painful, or in just a light, coming to an understanding on something. And again, you see these words, they mean a lot, and you need to find what it is that it speaks to you, to keep it in your mind. So every time you see that symbol, it's going to think to yourself, torch, enlightenment, shining a light on something. Very important. So that's this one. See, I don't want to spend loads of time on each one. I want you to be doing the work on this, guys, because at the end of the day, this is how you will learn. And there are 24 of them, remember. So again, think of something that's going to remind you. So of course, to me, it's a torch. A torch, when you click it on, there's a beam. And so then I know that's Kenaz or Kenaz. Of course, you've got to relate those names. It's going to be difficult to start with. But the next part that comes after this is the part that will help you do that. So we'll get on to the next rune. The next one is Gebo or Gebo, whatever way you want to say it. But I know a lot of people don't say the G. It's Gebo. And this is about love and forgiveness. It's also, I like to look at that in a great way, because what signifies this to me, because of it being an X, in England, when we do a text, we always put a cross at the end, which means love. So that's a very easy one to remember. When you see it, you're just going to see the cross, and it's going to remind you of love and forgiveness and, you know, giving and receiving, the light of love and the darkness of love, the different issues that will come in on that. And so you'll be able to think of things through your own life that will mean so much on that, rather than what's written in a book, guys. So again, write all these things down in your book. Now, when you've got your book and you're doing this, the way I did it was that I pick 2 or 4 pages for each one. So it gives you a lot of space. So you start the first 4 pages, then you do the next rune on the next 4 pages, and so forth all the way along. And each time you, like at the beginning, you would put the name, what it means to you, and at the end, how you're going to remember it. Yeah. You know, any readings you do, anything that sticks out, and you'll understand what I mean when I tell you the next part. The next one, which is Wunjo, and it looks like a flag. Now, Wunjo is joy, it's abundance. It's something that's special, that's making a big thing out of your life, making you happy, bringing forth the feelings of absolute ecstatic joy. You can sit and think about what this means, but a flag is almost like a victory, a joyous thing. You're waving your flag because you're full of joy. You've received something that has made you so, so happy. So think of something that will relate to you that will bring on that. And to me, I see somebody hugging, because to me, when you're happy, that's what you want to do. You want to hug someone, or you want to share that joy. So everybody's different. They all have different ideas on that. So just put those 3 things together. Okay, so that's the first ayat. That's the first 8. Now we're going to go on to the second ayat, which starts off with Hagalaz. And Hagalaz is about disruption. It's a rune definitely of a disruption. It's something that's interfering in your life. And so you can look at many things, but when you look at the rune, you'll see the 2 side bits and the bit that's going at an angle. And that is almost like somebody pushing something to keep it from falling on them or from falling over. So you're basically holding these 2 things up. So you're hanging on to things to help you with the disruption. And that thing in the middle is the only thing holding it all together. So this particular rune is about what things can happen in your life. So again, think about how that and what that means to you. Disruptions come in many different ways. They come in your life. They come in other people's lives. They can cause you issues that you need to deal with. So of course, when doing a reading, if you get this, you know that that person is going through some form of a disruption, some form of a problem that needs solving. And being strong in it maybe, or not so strong, you can always look at it both ways. And with your intuition, you will know what way to go through the story that you are reading with the runes that are present. And so it's nothing to be scared of when you get these runes and you might come through with a blank mind. Be calm and you will get something. It will come to you. The mind is a funny thing, guys. It stores the knowledge, but sometimes when we get a little bit worried or we get stressed, it all flies out the window. But that's only because we're stressed. If we just relax in it, and you don't have to waffle, you can just say to the person, hang on a moment, I'm not getting this quite right. I need to dwell on it a little bit, and it will come to you. Never feel put on the spot by anybody. You are doing them a favour with the reading. So whatever you get, whatever you feel, just go with it. Go with the flow. And so again, we think of something, and you're going to laugh at mine, but you know what? I think of London Bridge because it goes up to let problems through, and then it goes back down again. I love it. And that one really spoke to me. So the next one, guys, is Nauthiz. We don't say the T, so it's the Nauthiz. And this one is about necessities or needs. And again, you can look at all the words that go with that and see what one sticks out for you, and then use it and find your own vocabulary around it, because that's going to mean so much more to you. So there's many ways needs are. I mean, needs for life, needs of food and finances, or needs of love in a relationship, needs of aid in health, needs of looking after the world, etc. And so we can find many avenues that this will work, good and bad. So the needs that we're having may be that we need to share with others. So you can see that there are many ways we can use it. And so look at how it means to you. Think about what those words mean to you, and you'll be well on the way to sorting it. Now, it is a strange one to look at, 2 bars going like that, but think about needs. What are your needs? So I think of 2 hands like that, like you're holding your hands out, that you need something, and that I sort of put that together. Nauthiz, needs, and the hands. Put that in your book. Get everything written in your book, something that you can look back on at a later time. The next one is Isa, and Isa is just one symbol. I'm going to put these up for you anyway, but Isa. Now, Isa is ice. It means ice, and ice is cold. It's stagnant. It stays put. It's there. You can't get rid of it. I mean, it does things to stop you. Now, you can think about in what ways you're going to stagnate or you're going to be stuck in something. And it's also good to think about standing still, which will give you reflection and aid you in maybe matters that you need to be concerned about. And so at the end of the day, there are many ways you can look at stagnating, at ice, at coldness of a relationship, and you want to warm it up. You know, water is involved, which is emotions. So there's many ways you can look at this, but you need to take that word and make it yours. Bring in the vocabulary that is coming from your heart, from your mind, from your soul, and it will mean something to you. Okay, so the next one is quite a special one, I feel, because it's talking about the year, the cycles. It's about the harvest, and that's called Jera. And the symbol is almost like footprints following on from each other, even though it's not. But if you look at it, it could signify that, because it's 2 symbols that are one in front of the other. So it's almost like a progression, a journey through the year. And it's about harvesting things in your life. So again, look at that. Think about what you can harvest out of your life. Have you harvested good? Have you harvested bad? Have you gained anything, or have you still got a long way to go? Is there a problem that is just not going to work out and you need to stop that harvest and start again? There are so many ways you can look at this particular rune. And the word Jera actually means year. So think about how that's going to relate to it. And to me, it's a calendar. Just a calendar on the wall. Just think about a calendar, and then you should think about Jera, because it's a year on that calendar. The next one is called Eihwaz, but it's E-I-H. Well, there's 2 that are very similar. There's E-H, so you've got Eihwaz and Eihwaz, but this one is Eihwaz. And of course, this one is about defence. Now, when you look at the symbol, to me, it looks like a person with their legs bent, trying to hang on to something. But, like, I see it as a castle wall. I have a very good imagination, guys. And it's like a pick in the wall, and they're pulling themselves up because they're going to sort the people out at the top of the wall, and so defend themselves or defend the castle. And it's silly, I know, but that's the way I see it, and that's the way it speaks to me. And defence is a big subject, and you can see it in many ways. Are you going to defend yourself in court over something? Is there a divorce and you need to go to court? Have you been in an accident and you need to go to court? Or if you're, you know, you're having problems with somebody and you need to defend yourself in some way. There are so many ways you can use the word defence. And as I said to you before, you need to think of something that is really going to speak to you. But, as I said also, you can get the list for it and pick words that mean something to you off of that list. Think about it and then see the symbol. And as I said, to me, it looks like somebody on the castle ledge trying to defend the people around them. And so that's Eihwaz. And it can get confusing. There's also another symbol which is very similar to this one, but it's totally different. We'll get onto that in a minute. The next one is Pertho, and it is the most strange one. But to me, it can be an openness to something. It actually means chance. It means gambling. It means taking a look at something and going for it without thinking. It's all those things, really. And I look at that as, if you turn it round the other way, looks like a cup to put your dice in, because it's the game of life, the game of chance, the game of losing or winning. And so it's quite a harsh one. Now this rune has a lot of connotations to it. People said it's not really a rune because of the subject matter. But if you look back at the Viking times, they did do a lot of gambling. They did do that with their raids. And they would transfer things to each other through winning, and then they probably kill each other to get it back. But that was what it was. It's about a game of chance, a game of winning or losing. And they were very good at both back then. And of course that happens today in many things in our lives. We take a chance on things. Chances in relationships, in health, in new businesses, all sorts of things. And so this is what we need to do. Think of something that's going to make you remember it. And to me, on mine, it was a dice. We want Algiz. And I like this one because it's basically showing you the horns of the elk. Now the elks use their horns to protect themselves. So this is the rune of protection, but it's also about opportunities as well. So if you're endeavouring on something and you need to be protected, it means looking at the small print. Also make sure that you're very astute as to what you're doing. So think of it as the elk, and you'll know that they fight, they're using their horns, it's protection. Okay, so the next one is Sowilo. Now Sowilo is the sun, but it's about energy and growth and vitality, and it's masculine, and there's all that wonderful energy. And so what does it mean to you? Think of the words that it represents to you, and then write it in your book like all the others, and think of a symbol that's gonna mean it. And this is an easy one. You know, Sowilo is the sun. Think of the S's, Sowilo, but there's a big S at the beginning. The sun, the big S, the big energy. It's a very easy one to remember. And that is the end of the second ayat, guys. We're going on to the third ayat, which is the last one. And we're going to start that one off with Tiwaz. And that represents the god Tyr. And that's all about being a warrior in most things in your life. And I think of the sword, because the sword was a story that belonged to Tyr, and Tyr lost his hand as a sacrifice. But it also meant that lots of people are going to die because of it, because he was the only one that's going to be able to stop the end, Ragnarok. And so it's talking about being a warrior, being strong in something, putting the whole thing into something, being strong-minded. But a warrior does so many things. You can have a warrior in a nurse looking after somebody constantly, or somebody at home looking after someone who's ill, or going through a job which you hate day in, day out. You're a warrior. You do it for the greater good. And there's many aspects. You could have cancer or a terrible illness that you are fighting through. And so much more. These runes can come up in a devastating situation. But the warrior one shows the character of the person, shows the things that you might need to think about. So look at that word, get some words and think about how it relates, and then use them, put them in your book. These things will help you, but as I said to you, you can't make it happen quickly. These things happen over time. The learning process takes your mind a little while to sink it all in. But if you do these things, which I'm going to teach you after we've done this ayat, if you do it daily, you will find within no time you'll be fluent, like a language. It is a language. It was an alphabet that they used before divination or any of that. And of course, once you know it, you can use it in the magical as well. And again, think about how it's going to relate to you. Now with me, as I said earlier, the sword. The sword to me means strength. It means warriorship. A Viking never died without his sword or his axe or whatever in his hand, for he wanted to go to Valhalla and he needed that in his hand. So it's very, very apt for warriorship. Now the next one I like because it's shaped, and I like this because they say this is Berkana or Berkana. As you can see, Berkana is like a bee, but it also looks a bit like a woman's breasts, if you've got a very good imagination, of course. But that means fertility. It means life, the things that we need to sustain life, the way we look at life, the way we look at fertility. Fertility in plants, in people, in animals, all round. But it can also mean, are you fertile in things that you need to learn? Are you fertile in the things that you do? Not just about the sexual part, though it is very feminine rune. It is female based. It's also very nice rune. I like this rune. The energy is really good. And when you get used to all the different energies, sometimes you don't even need to see what it is to know what it is. And that is great. Once you get in touch with them, with your feelings, you will get to know the different energies. And so think about what that means to you. To me, I see Berkana or Berkana as a plant growing. You know, that little seed that's sprouting through the earth. Fertility. The next one we have is Ehwaz. And Ehwaz is a symbol of M, and it's momentum in time. A moment of your life. A situation that can happen around that moment in life. And so our lives are made up of minutes and moments, things that happen, so situations. And I like this one because it means the horse. And if you look at Odin's horse, Sleipnir, he had 8 legs for speed. It's momentum in time, but it's about speed of your life, of your journey, of the things that you need. So you can look at the horse, its power, how it runs so quickly, how it gallops through a situation. And we can look at that and take that on board. It's very, very precise. And so we can get through things with this rune. Again, look up words. Think about the power of the horse, how it related to Odin, for example. For he really loved that horse. It had 8 legs, so it could go really fast. but it had purpose, and a momentum or a moment can have good purpose. So look at that, look at all the things around it, and you'll find the words that speak to you for this rune. And I see the horse, momentum, journey, fastness, getting through something fast, sorting it out, not sitting on it, okay? Sometimes we sit on things. And so you could have a reading where somebody isn't dealing with something and they need to push forwards. And so this rune might show up to tell you that they need to push through. They need to get through this fast before it's detrimental to them. The next one, which is also an M, but it has a little box like two flags stuck together. And I like this one because it's about humanity. And I see that as man and woman standing together with the right purpose in mind, both equal, both human, and having the problems of human and humanity, children as well, everything in a big circle of love. But you can look at that humanity. In what way does it affect them? What's going on in the rest of the reading? Think up the word humanity and the words that sit with it, and you can then bind that in and find your own vocabulary and put it in the book. Of course, if it's easier for you, take those words, guys. Take a list of the words and pick what you want from it. Don't boggle the mind down with too many words, because as I said to you, it's about the feeling of something. You could have one word that could have so many meanings to it, and it can come from the heart, it can come from the soul and the mind. And each time it could mean something different, even though the main word is humanity. Each reading will be different because you're using the intuition. And so write it in your book. What can you think up as something that's going to trigger it? To me, I see a man and a woman holding hands. Humanity, humans. Okay, guys, so the next one is Laguz. And it's like a hook, isn't it? You've got like a jagged bit goes down, and it's like an eye with a bit hanging off the edge. Laguz to me is lovely because it's talking about our needs. It's water, it's lake, it's the life force. We need this substance to survive on the earth. Water is also about emotion and spirituality. So you've got three aspects that you can pick things from that's going to aid the person in the reading. So when you're giving a reading with water, you know it's one of three things. It could be a spiritual matter, it could be a physical matter, or it could be a mental matter. So water is something that we need. We're made up of 75% of it, and we need it to survive. So think about what that means to you. How does it work in your life? Think about how you use it. Water is your friend, but it can also be a foe. Think about it. Floods, drownings, all manner of things that water can be a danger to us. So we have to be careful with it. So when reading for somebody, see both sides of it. Even though we don't do the reverse, we still use our intuition. And if something's telling you that it's the opposite to the good part, go with it. That's what I mean by being intuitive with it. Don't be stuck with words. Go with your gut feelings. And if you get a rune and it doesn't come to you as it should, take what you're being given, for it doesn't matter if it's not the right thing for that rune. The energy of that rune is giving you something else, and that's what it's all about, listening to the messenger. And it's very important and very sacred if someone is using something to get a message across to you, to help somebody or to help yourself. So think outside of the box with the runes, guys, and don't be told you're doing it wrong, because no, It's a gift from the gods, and as such they have the ability to change things. And if you're doing something one day and for the life of you that particular rune is sticking out as something different, don't avoid it, because that is not using what you need to. Go with it. Please go with it, and you will get a successful reading for that person. Okay, so the next rune is Ingwaz, and I like this rune because it's about the King Ing, or a lot of them would call him the god, but I call him the king. He was a god that came down and came to the early Nordic people and gave them peace and harmony and judged people fairly, and they lived in a lovely place and they were all happy, and it went on for a long time. They had a wonderful place to live and they felt at ease and peaceful, and they had harmony until he left them, and then obviously everything changed. But again, you see, Ingwaz is about peace and harmony, and you can look at peace and harmony in many ways. In a reading, it could be that there's an argument going on and you need to put peace in with that. You need to give something that's going to help them stop what's going on and look at the situation with peace and harmony in their hearts. Peace and harmony can mean all sorts of things. In your spiritual life, it can be about you're not peaceful in your mind about something in the practice and you might want to change and go elsewhere. There are so many ways. It could be in a health issue that you're not dealing with, so you're having no peace, you're getting symptoms. It can be an argument with someone and a divorce. It can be a catastrophe with family living abroad and something's happened. There are so many things that you can look at this. And so again, look in it, see what those words mean to you. It's going to sit more within you if you know how you feel about something. And that is Ingwaz. The next one is Othila. It means family and home. And people can have family that are not actually blood related. It can be family in many ways. And it can be the animal kingdom, it can be humans, it can be all sorts of things. And again, if you've got somebody in a reading that's having problems, this rune may come up and you need to look at it as, is it coming to tell you there's a problem, or is it coming to tell you that there's something really good happening? Only you know by your gut feeling. And you have to go with the flow, guys. Whenever giving a reading, don't feel overwhelmed that you've got to get a message for the person, that it's got to be correct, because that will throw you, and everything that you've learned will just go out of your mind and you will feel stupid and you will want to hide. Don't do that to yourselves. Do what you want as it comes to you. And if the person can't take it, no matter, because when I do my reading, sometimes it's for 6 months ahead. And I've had people say to me, that was rubbish. You got that wrong. I can't take that. And they'll go away. And then they'll get in touch with me 6 months later and say, oh my God, everything you said has come true, but not right away. It's only just happened. I'm sorry. And you get your confirmation that way, guys. The gods work with us in different ways. And for some people, it's straight away. For some people, it isn't. And we have to go with what's right for us. And so you make it personal. You make it about you. You're the person doing it, not a book, not a teacher, not a course. You're doing this from within you, okay? Now, again, think about, with all of these, what the triggers are going to be to help you remember. And with Othila, I see a house, because even the shape of it is like something on legs, but I see a house. What does that say to me? When you're a child and you draw a house, it's always with a front with 4 windows and a door in the middle and a chimney pot. So to me, I see that sort of a house, a drawing that I did as a child. It brings back memories of family. it brings back that loving feeling of family and security and all that. And so we know that that is a good rune. And the last one is Dagaz. Dagaz. And that is a wonderful rune because it's transformation. You started with Freya, with wealth, and you end with transformation. And transformation comes in many ways for many different people. It can be a spiritual path. It can be a family path. It can be a work path. It can be a health path. It can be anything. But transformation comes in two parts, a beginning and an end. But there's a story in the middle. And it's also Dagaz. I like to think of it as day and night, light and dark, the beginning of a day, the dawn, the dawning of newness. Two different situations that are together and that will always be together. The twins, things like that. And so you have day and night, you have a problem and a cure. There's two things, polarity. And to have those things gives you transformation. And so again, write this in your book. Find the words that really relate to you and use them. Think about them. Think about the different things that can happen to people and then try to think of something that could help the person. It's hard to start with, but when you get into the swing of it and you're writing everything down and you're learning as you're going, everything you do reminds you of that rune. Every time you write in your book, you're reminding yourself of that particular rune. And I wouldn't pick ones here and there, guys. I would go through right from the start all the way through each time. And it is going to be cumbersome to start with, but aren't you going to feel great when at the end you're going to know them fluently and you're going to be able to reel them off, and every word that you've learned is going to be in your mind and you aren't going to be worried about how you're going to read these runes. They're there for your benefit and for the benefit of others. And those were the 24 runes. Now, I did say about Odin's rune, the blank rune. And when I get that, it's normally a message from Odin. And I get that in the mind. You don't have to have an image on the rune. Just holding that rune and thinking Odin. You'll get the message. And it could be subtle or it could be something really loud. Only you will know. And it's up to you whether you divulge it to the person or not. It might be something that you don't want to divulge, and it's totally up to you at the end of the day, because it's your reading, your runes, okay? So that's all of the runes and how I did it. But the best way of this is taking one rune right from the start. You start with one and you meditate on it. And what I mean by that is you go into a meditative state and you see that symbol and you think about the words that go with it, and you see yourself sitting, looking at it, and it's facing you in the air, and you just stay quiet, think no more, and just look at this symbol in your mind's eye, and that you're sitting looking at it. And just relax and just wait. And after a few attempts, you will start to get feedback from the rune. It will be learning to adjust to you and come to you. And eventually, you will know everything it's telling you. You will get taught things. You can also go up to it in your meditation and you can hold it. You can put your hands on it. And at a further date, when you're used to doing this, it's a good thing to try and do. And every time you go there, you're going to learn something. But at first, it's going to be hard. You have to recognise that you have to link with this rune. It's an energy, and all energies have to link. So think about the rune, think about what it means, then stop thinking, just watch the rune and see what happens. And do that with every one of the runes, but take your time with it. And every time you finish your meditation, whatever you've been given, write it down in your book. You will know everything you're given will stay within you. It's a gift from Spirit. It's a gift from the gods. And it will stay with you. But like anything, you have to keep doing it to be able to keep knowing. Like riding a bike. You know, if you stop riding it, you find it tough when you go back to it. Don't become dry spiritually. Always make sure you give time for your studies. And you will find it will become part of you. And you'll look back in a couple of years and think, wow, how was I ever like that when I know so much now? So I hope some of this has helped you guys. I hope you're not disappointed and that you've not learned anything new. But I'm a feeling worker as a seidr practitioner. Everything to me is about journeys and feeling and energies. And to me, that works better than reading books and trying to memorize things. You need keys. In magic, you have keys, and each key opens. You need those keys, but you have to work for them. And once you've got the first key, it unlocks the door to the next key. That's what I am hoping this will help you do with the runes. So I'm going to leave it there. Hope this has helped, and hope you're well. And I'll be back with the next video soon. So wherever you are, whatever time of day, night or evening it may be, I wish you the best ever. House of Alang.